morning.
Good morning.
So we're trying new technology today. So we're hope you approve, Lori. Okay, good. Yeah, I know I'm in the habit of turning my head a lot. Yep. And I talk with my hands a lot. And when you're holding the mic and those things and you hold the paper, it's not always a good, not always, it's not a good combination. So we are moving up in the world. Kind of a follow-up to last month's seminar about technology. Here we go. We're catching up with the times about technology. So, anyway, that's what we're all about. Pam's going to let you wait there just a minute and then I'll bring you all up. So you may find some seats back there somewhere. So welcome. We're excited to have you here today. For those of you who I've not met, I'm Virginia Lazenby. I am a realtor and senior downsizing coach and host of the seminars. We do the seminars as a way to help share information with people. As I've worked with seniors over the years for downsizing, often selling their homes to move to perhaps independent living or other places, I've just seen so many times we don't have information. We need information so you will stay empowered and be in control of what your steps may be. So the seminar topics vary, and we also want to encourage people to have an active lifestyle. So, wow, you're going to be challenged today, and you're going to learn lots of neat opportunities. And when you come back next month, if I hear one person say, I was really bored, I'm going to say, go back and look at your homework from last month. So you're going to be so motivated, and you want to live an energetic life. So we're going to talk more about that topic in just a minute. But I do want to, so as we say, the purpose of seminars, educate, equip, and inspire seniors to make informed choices and empowered decisions. And I've seen a lot of people over the years really take their information and use it to plan for. So it's been an exciting adventure for me as we work with people on this. And so we've been doing it for 7 years, with some time out, but not gone away. We just went virtual for a period of time there. Some of you were with us when we started the library 7 years ago. Anyway, we picked people up along the way. How many are here for the first time? Okay. All right, great. We're glad to have Gary Cox. You were here for the very first seminar at the library 7 years ago. And I don't think your memory's gone away. So, Kay, if you can't remember, you were both there. In fact, I have a picture. I keep saying I'm going to bring it. A picture of you all at the first seminar where I think we had 8 people. And Gary said, why aren't there more people here? Oh, if we ever get to 20, I will be absolutely delighted. And we made that, and we keep going and going. So, but for those of you who are new, visit with some of I feel like I'm in church, so, reach out to our visitors and make them feel comfortable and included. Anyway, this is our own community, and it's fun to see, as I see people visiting afterwards, and we've seen each other along the way and form our own friendships, and that's really great, too. Some people who help make these seminars possible, we call our educational partners. I'm just going to give a brief introduction. One of your assignments after today's presentation, go by and visit with someone. You may not need their services today, but maybe in the future. I had someone come in this morning. Some time back you had someone, a financial person. I need to know who that person was. Well, if you have that question in your mind about wealth management, financial planning, ta-da! Will, raise your hand. There's your man to talk to. Will Boughton with Vera Bank. He has a table over there. It's a great resource. Others in our educational partner area, for those of you who may find yourself whether on a more permanent or a temporary need for home care, someone to come in and help for you or a loved one or someone in a home. We have Visiting Angels with us, Stacy Scarborough. So a lot of you know Visiting Angels, but stop and visit with Stacy, know what they have to offer for you. We have with us Wesleyan Homes, covers everything. Most of you know Wesleyans are independent to assisted to memory care, skilled nursing, rehab, home care, home health, hospice.
Yes.
I got them all. Okay. So if you need any information, Christy, raise your hand. A lot of you know Christy Schuler from Wesleyan, so she's your resource there. And we may have some others joining us. North Star is I think I have the right name. Yeah, that's a 55-plus apartment complex out here off Westinghouse and just past 1640. They are one of our partners, may not be here today. And the other one is myself. We have our Seniors Living Smarter Services, which is a downsizing business that really can lead you through the move management, the liquidation, getting rid of stuff, and property prep. So I'll be back at that table afterwards. So there are extra sources of information besides what we do in the seminar. Let's see. Oh, two people I need to thank. One is trying to hide behind the banner, but that could be hid and block the screen. So Jeff Cramp has been a tremendous source. We've worked together for many, many years. He started with me for marketing and website, and then COVID came, and we kind of moved into virtual, and then we kind of moved out of virtual, and he's our tech person, a big lifesaver there. And Brielle, who's still out, probably some people may be coming in, my administrative assistant plus. She does so much more. Many of you have talked to her on the phone, or you met her when you registered. So Brielle, too, is we just have a fun time working together, and I appreciate their support. Okay. Oh, this little housekeeping. Oh, I have to do our Vanna White demonstration. Your trusty binder. We know that when you're sitting at your chairs and people don't have a table to write on. So this year we resolved the problem and said, okay, you will get a binder on your first visit, and hopefully you will be returning. It's your responsibility then to keep up and bring it back. And each month you get 3 loves to organize. So you have your color coordinated divider. So here we are in August, pretty purple. And in there you'll pull out pages that are already 3-hole punched, ready to go into your binder. And we'll be talking about a lot of these today. There are some tremendous resources that you won't want to miss out on. At the first sheet, behind the purple sheet, you'll see the one that lists our speakers, our panelists today. And also then has a place for questions of you that you're going to have lots of questions when our panelists are speaking. And you're going to raise your hand, but as I always say, if you raise your hand, take your hand down, grab your pen, and write your idea of your question. So then we will have questions at the end, so you'll be ready to ask your questions then. Try not to take them during the panel, because we can go off on side trails and never get back to what was planned. So we've learned from experience, and while I'm talking about that, I think we're good at this, but remember as usual, silence your cell phones and all that good stuff. And I had a couple of people last month who asked me, I know it seems we shouldn't need to say this, but I'm following my directions from some of our attendees about to remind us, I know there are going to be things that come up and you're going to want to talk to your neighbor about it, but would you save those conversations to after the presentation is over? Because sometimes you're so excited. Well, you can write that note down to what you want to talk with your neighbor about when we're after we're through. Okay, so that was your trusty notebook, and thanks to Brielle for always putting these together. And you, like I say, you'll be hearing about a lot of resources today. So, our title for today, you've got a lot of living to do, and when I think back, our lives are getting longer generally, and I think back to my parents and their retirement. They just didn't engage in a lot of activities. I would hear my mother telling my aunt on the phone, these golden years just aren't so golden. Well, of the times I really think that perhaps she would have engaged in more activity. They might have been. I know we have health issues to deal with, but come on. We've got lots of opportunities. And that's what we want to do. We've mentioned this book previously. If someone wants to, an interesting book to read about really leading a fulfilled and enriched retirement life, so our third act, your third act, A Guide to Great Retirement by William Cook and Grant Fairley. It's an amazing book. I like it. There are lots of blue flags in there. But challenging us to think about, okay, get off your behind and start doing things. And so that's what we're going to be sharing today, some resources for that, both live resources and virtual. That was one of the things that came out of COVID, one of those silver linings, that there are a lot of neat opportunities virtual. I just think, what do you want to do with your third act? Our first act being, our youth and growing up. Second act being our career. And now we've got this lots of time. What are we going to do? And some people have their schedules so absolutely full, and others sort of just drift away. It's your decision. Sure, I'm missing out on a lot. So as one of my favorite quotes from the book is, this is a time to rediscover ourselves. New worlds that have been waiting to be explored during our time on this treadmill of life. When we've been working, a lot of, I wish I could do stained glass, or I want to travel, or I want to get more fit. Okay, go for it. That's what you believe you want to encourage you to do. And then before you leave today on that first sheet, you'll be setting some action steps. What are you going to do? And the one other thing that was in your Vanna White packet, this is your seminar feedback form. Before you leave today, if you would fill that out. Just some general questions. How did you find out about the seminar? How would you rate it? And if you want to be registered for the September 8th seminar, you can sign up here and Brielle will do that. Also says if you're interested in the downsizing club, we have a downsizing club that meets monthly. May not be moving right now, but I know in the next maybe 2 or 3 years, but I want to get a head start. It's kind of a monthly support group. Pat Sykes meets with us, Judy Mayo, Catherine Miller. I think they're the ones from the downsizing club who are here. Yeah, Catherine, Pat, Judy. I think that's it for today. Anyway, so this is a great read, and I'm going to ask our panelists to come up at this time. Yes, up.
Virginia, name the author again.
I think it's William S. Cook, Jr. MD, and Grant Fairley. It's a great resource. Oh, let's see. How about we'll just sit in the order you are. We'll make it work, whatever it is. That will be just fine. I hope you like our special director chairs. So, yes. This is where you want me. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, before we have our panel introduce themselves, I have some questions for you, kind of a platform baseline. Okay. You don't have to participate, but I hope you will. How many of you are engaged in some kind of social groups? It could be church, book clubs. Okay, yay, looks like we've got an active group here. That's great. Another question. Here's a good one. How many of you regularly engage in physical exercise? Wow, that's good. Linda's happy. Now, here's a specific one. How many of you attend or have attended Silver Sneakers? I know we have some. Okay. Yes, some of you may have met Linda earlier. So Silver Sneakers, great opportunity. All right, how many of you have taken classes to learn new skills or gain information, such as senior university, or some of you done things online? Okay. Not as energetic to hold your hands up. You still hold your hands up. And I know COVID threw us for a loop on some of this. Say in the last 3 years or so, how many of you have traveled or have definite plans for travel coming up? Good, good. And some of you may have been traveling with Babs. You'll hear from her. Now, a little caveat there. I know probably for some of you, I'm not traveling now, between COVID, wherever we are with COVID, and airlines and all their challenges. It's a personal decision. You're going to help us address some of that. But some of you said, I've had enough of not traveling. I'm out and about travel. Take my chances to be as prepared as I can. So those are kind of topics we'll be talking about today. So I'm going to let our panel introduce themselves. Babs Cave, Linda Bert, okay. And Ron Snell. So, all right, Babs, you start off. And so this is their brief introduction of who they are, why they're here today. Is that?
They are working.
Hi, I'm Babs Kate. I'm so glad. Babs Kate. I'm grateful to see some familiar faces and terrific.
This is, yeah.
Hello.
Gotcha. Okay, I know that. I grew up in Austin. That was my first chapter, and I met my husband at UT. And we continued into the second chapter with a honeymoon, thanks to the Navy, in Taipei, Taiwan, Taipei, Formosa. This was a long time ago. Well, when we first arrived, this was 1958 in summer, June, the officers' wives had a trip to Bangkok, Saigon, and Singapore. We signed up, and all the other minimal officers said, "What are you doing?" And they're still kicking themselves. That was the beginning of our love of travel. We got to go to Hong Kong, Okinawa, Japan, and all just in that 2-year period. So coming home, we couldn't do that. And we were in Dallas, where my husband was an architect, and I found my niche to be a travel advisor. And some of you know Barbara Hallmark. She was my boss. She took a chance on me because I had no training. That first year of learning was something else. But it was, there have been a lot of God things in my life, and that was one of them. It was just terrific. So then in 97, it occurred to us that maybe we could live in Sun City and use a fax machine and 800 numbers. And Barbara said, well, I'm going to come down there too. So we've been here since the end of, like New Year's Eve on 97. And it's turned into being another God-given thing. I have the most wonderful people to work with. That's the key. And if I don't get to go, I get to send them. And all the research to get them prepared is a true thing. I try to look back because the other godsend to mention is how much travel I've been able to do. Last count, it was a little over, I think over 55 cruises and 99 countries. So working on that last country. I'm to a point where I've done almost everything I want to do, but there's never the end. The bucket list is always it's an open volume. So I'm working on that, and I get to take people, I get to send people, and we are travel advisors, not agents now. You're using an agent if you go to Expedia. You get advice if you go to travel advisor.
So we're going to learn more about Babs and what she has to offer, not just her work, but also travel in general, because I know there are lots of questions. Is it safe to travel? How do I take as many safeguards as possible? So she can speak in very general terms, as well as entice you with other opportunities for travel. So, okay, so Linda, you're going to do your introduction, then we'll come back for the little surprise, okay?
Yeah, there's a surprise. Anyway, my name is Linda Burns, and I teach fitness classes. I've been in the fitness industry for many, many, many years. So I was a very active child. I played all the sports. I danced ballet, physical. I was not that great at school because I have some learning disabilities. So movement was my thing. And I loved it. I got married, had kids, was a housewife, raised my kids, tried to get as much activity in as I could, but with kids it's tough, to focus on yourself, but that's okay. I raised my kids, and then I thought, man, what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
That was a
We haven't been there. You haven't been there, have you? No. Anyway, so a friend of mine said, you should teach barre. I'm like, barre? What's that? And it's spelled B-A-R-R-E, which is basically, long story, a ballet-based fitness. Well, ballet was like I could do it in my sleep because I grew up dancing ballet. I started ballet when I was 3, kept going till I was in college, performed, all that stuff. Anyway, so I thought, really? People will pay me so I can teach them some ballet stuff? That's amazing. And she's like, yeah. So anyway, I started, that was my journey into fitness, and I never looked back. I even opened up my own bar studio. This was in Washington State. I moved here 2 years ago in the middle of COVID when the fitness industry had died, right? It was dead. Which was a great opportunity because I used to work, I closed my fitness studio before we moved, like a year before we moved, because I found out I hate running businesses. I just love teaching classes. So I started working for 24 Hour Fitness, and the rest, I went crazy. I was full-time, but I loved it. I'm a certified personal trainer. I am a certified Zumba instructor. I am a certified Pilates instructor. I'm a certified Tabata instructor. I could go on. I'm a certified Silver Sneakers instructor. So I have a million certifications to teach fitness classes. No, I don't take personal training customers because I'm semi-retired after COVID. I'm like, I kind of like not having to get up at 5 a.m. and have a list full of customers and then teach fitness. I was getting a little burned out. So now I'm teaching at the rec center, and I'm also subbing. But my main class at the rec center is Silver Sneakers, and I'll talk to you about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
I am
also
done.
there you do the balance and
Yeah, so I have one regular class. Remember, I just moved here. I'm kind of a newbie to Georgetown, newbie to Texas. By the way, I love it. I love the sunshine. I lived in Seattle for 25 years. I almost died. Okay, let me just put.
some of us are going, well, maybe we might want.
No, well, okay, good luck. That's not me. I grew up in Central America. I needed the sun. I had to struggle with depression big time in Seattle. I'm really happy to be here. Anyway, I have one regular class at the rec center, and it's on Tuesdays at 10:30. It's called Silver Sneakers Stability. It's a new format for Silver Sneakers. It's excellent. It's a falls prevention class, but it'll make you stronger, and that's all I'm going to say right now.
That's fine.
So thank you. Nice to meet you all, and I look forward to talking a little bit more.
So an inspiration to us about get out and do, and you don't even have to get out that much. Stretches, we'll talk about other opportunities. Okay, so now we have to be careful with this panel because they will just break into speaking Spanish. And then that last week, well, perhaps, I bet you really, we'll have our comment, yeah. So anyway, there's a little teaser about, Linda mentioned you were born in...
I was born in Panama, and I grew up, thank you. I grew up in Honduras, Central America. I moved to the United States when I was 17. Why is my English so good? Because my father was American, my mother was Honduran. I went to American schools. I learned English when I was in kindergarten. Long story, but that's it. Someone asked me, why don't you have an accent? I just told you why.
So sometimes, hearing your background, you're like, wow, that's over my head. But I think it's fun to know sometimes we find connections there. Okay, Ron, tell us about who you are, why you're here.
I'm here because you invited me, and I appreciate it. I do happen to believe in the topic, which is helpful.
Yeah, that's...
I was born and raised in the jungle of Peru, South America. My parents were missionaries, so Bible translators actually, so I grew up speaking Matzigenga, a jungle Indian language, and some Spanish and some English. and have been a little reluctant to wear shoes ever since. Out of respect, I wore shoes but no socks. After graduating high school and coming to this completely foreign country of the U.S., I joined the same organization my parents had worked with, and that took me to Mexico and around the U.S. and several years in Indonesia, and back to Texas for a number of years, Nebraska, where I ran a homeless shelter for 12 years, and then in order to get out of Nebraska winters, went to Costa Rica and lived in Costa Rica for 8 years. So I came here from Costa Rica. So why am I such a believer in the topic of adult education and classes? Well, when I was in Costa Rica, my son, who's a professor at a university, wrote an email saying that they were celebrating the end of their semester. And I thought to myself, well, why can't I celebrate the end of the semester just because I'm 67? And so I created a semester, and it was on social insects, leafcutter ants, termites, and honeybees. And at the end of the semester, I did a class project and celebrated. And that has kind of been the course of my life. I had just turned 70 when I moved to Georgetown, and I stumbled over Senior University at Oktoberfest. I saw the booth and stopped in to volunteer to teach beginner Spanish, which I had been doing for 8 years in Costa Rica. And they took my contact information and said, we'll get back in touch with you. And that was kind of the end of that for a couple of months until I got a phone call from somebody saying, were you serious about teaching Spanish? And I said, yes, I love doing it, but it depends on the time of day because I'm actually looking for a job right now. And they said, well, that's interesting. We're looking for a director. They hadn't even seen my resume. But one thing led to another, and now I'm the director of Senior University. And I love it because I'm a lifelong learner, and I think one of the most helpful, profitable things we can all do as we move into these years is to not let other people limit us in terms of where we can go and what we can learn.
Yay, that is so great. What a great segue for this. So the others sort of informally address this, but one more question. I think you pretty well addressed it, but let's hear from Linda and Babs. When you hear the title, you've got a lot of living to do. What does that mean to you, Linda? What does that title mean?
It just means that I'm gonna, for me personally,
That's fine.
it just means that I'm gonna accept what nature gives me as far as my body, like how I'm gonna age, and just work with that. And that's really my motto, and that's the motto I give people, everybody, in any kind of a fitness situation, is work with the body that you have right now. A lot of people aspire for the body that they had during their glory years, or back when they could walk better, or back when, or whatever. Jack LaLanne. I bet a lot of you have heard of Jack LaLanne, right? Yeah. No, that's the wrong mindset. And it's very inspiring when you do go to any fitness class, any fitness locations that maybe have like a swimming pool. You see people, coming in their wheelchairs and walkers and canes. They're working with their bodies. There is no prerequisite to be active, to move the body. Basically, instead of looking at it as fitness, it's move your body, movement. I call myself a movement motivator. That's what it is.
We'll
That's
take
what-
that. That's great.
Yeah, that's what a lot of living means to me and to every.
That whole part of aging and accepting where we are, make the best of it. And you're a great role model and challenge us to do that. Babs, so what about from your world? You've got a lot of living to do. What does that mean to you?
I was so impressed with Virginia's bringing this particular panel and subject matter to you, to me. There is so much living to do, and every day could be, one fall, one day off. today is important, but having something to look forward to is a real help. I believe one of our biggest gifts is memories. And it may be a childhood, raising kids, going to college, but it might be places you're so grateful you got to see, and you see a movie and say, oh, I've been there. Oh, I've seen pictures of that. I want to go there. So all these things come together, and if you put the mindset that Virginia has of my travel emphasis, keeping your body so you can do it, and then keeping the mind alive, alert. And Senior University will give you a big variety to choose on that. So there is a lot of living to do, and I'm grateful for it.
And we want to support everybody on that. And Babs mentioned about being mobile, or you had a great phrase in there about balance. And so we're going to do something a little different today. We want to encourage you to be your best self physically here, to take steps, to be able to do a lot of stuff. You can do it virtually too. We've got some great resources there. But balance is so critical. Stretching, strengthening our core. So we're going to do a little hands-on. No, Linda's not just going to demonstrate. She's going to demonstrate.
I'm here to make you work.
She said I didn't.
I'm kidding. It's going to be easy, I promise.
So here's the deal. No, the doors are closed. You can't leave. Put your notebooks, if there's a vacant chair, or on the floor, so you're not having to worry about your notebook or pens. And
Don't worry, it's not going to be that bad, I promise.
she looks kind of safe. I think it'll be okay. Trust.
We're going to do 10 jumping jacks and 20 push-ups. No.
I'm not a girl now.
All right, so real quick, this is just a quickie. Now, again, I am a restless person. This isn't what everybody is, but sitting down, listening to someone talk for a full hour is like torture for me. If it's torture for you, great, because you're going to love this. If it's not, well, this will help you just kind of get a little bit of your joints moving. So if you can stand up, stand up. If not, stay sitting and just walk in place. Just walk in place. That's it. Now, when you're walking in place, you're wanting to move your arms, right? That stride is really important. When you lose your mobility, your arms tend to kind of do this. All right, so arm movement is important. All right, now, when I say stop, see if you can stand on one foot.
Uh-oh.
All right, so I catch you by surprise. Now, usually when I teach this, you have a chair next to you to hold on to. So if you feel like you're about to fall over, don't stand on one foot. Just kind of do a little touch your toe on the floor or whatever. But just try it. Okay, we're gonna walk, and when I say stop, you're just gonna walk mid. You're gonna stop mid walk, right? Stop. Notice I'm losing my balance too, right? Okay. That's what the stability class is about that I teach, is that the wobbles, we embrace them. Because we're strengthening those muscles. Stop. Those muscles that are wobbling right now, that are doing everything they can to prevent you from falling, those are the muscles we need to strengthen. All right, let's sit down.
You all did a great job. Yay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being good sports. I know you didn't sign up for that. Okay.
We didn't put that in the seminar.
You signed up to sit down comfortably and just listen to us talk. Well, surprise, right? That was our surprise. And we'll do a little stretching because it's fun. Now, we neglect our feet a lot. We don't stretch our feet, do we? No, hardly ever, if at all. Okay, so if you can, and I know people sometimes have feet surgeries and stuff, or feet are less mobile, but mobility in your feet is important to maintain your stability. So I want you to pretend you're pedaling a bike and just lift one heel and then the next. And you're pressing the ball of your foot down into the floor. I know that isn't easy for some people's feet, but do your best. All right, good. Now, press both heels up off the floor. You're going to feel your calf muscles engage, right? Ooh, those muscles maybe haven't worked for a while. Who knows? Maybe they have. Bring them down. Okay, and then you're just going to rotate. Rotate your ankles. Ankle mobility is very important. The other direction. And now, the last circle you do one big circle like you're trying to make that circle as big as possible. Now, all of a sudden, you're engaging your thigh and your calves. Okay, so there we go. That's the other leg now. Circles, other direction. And now do one direction really big and really slow and controlled. Engage all those muscles. And then the other direction. Yeah, very good. Okay, now, again, this is a quickie. I got to explain to you, Silver Sneakers classes, I don't know what picture some people have about Silver Sneakers. Silver Sneakers is the best senior program for fitness I have seen. And the government, Medicare, is actually working with Silver Sneakers to provide it for free for as many people in the country as they can. The reason I say it's one of the best senior classes is because it doesn't treat you like you're decrepit. All right? They treat you like you're a person who wants to move at your level, and we're going to try to help you. And we're also going to try to help challenge you a little bit. We're going to work at your level. That's what I love. It's not classes where you're just sitting. You know, a lot of people, the Silver Sneakers yoga class is awesome. No one never gets on the floor. Some people call it chair yoga. I hate that. The teacher that teaches at the rec center, she's a wonderful lady. She's certified in Silver Sneakers yoga. She calls it chair yoga. And I'm like, don't call it chair yoga. It's not chair yoga. We are not in an assisted living facility. There are chair yoga classes in assisted living, and that's fine. We encourage people to stand up as much as possible. So any Silver Sneakers format is not going to treat you like your body's about to break, but they're also not going to break your body. That's what I love about it. It really is empowering. It's trying to empower seniors in fitness. I was going to lead you through more stretches, but we're good. You can figure it out. You can come visit the rec center or any Silver Sneakers class. By the way, Silver Sneakers isn't paying me to say all this. I don't get a commission. I just strongly believe in it. The rec center is not paying me to be here. I'm volunteering. Just wanted you to know, for full disclosure, I'm just passionate about fitness, and I really believe it improves everybody's lives.
So this was not marketing, this was information. This
Correct.
was, a great resource to turn to.
I sound like a salesperson.
Babs, when you were doing your little feet exercises, what did you think of? I'll tell you what I thought. So for those of you who go on long international flights and we're sitting there forever, we're told to walk, good luck with that, but maybe you can make a circle around. What's one of the best things we can do when we're flying for long, or maybe short flights too?
Well, that's exactly right. Walking and doing your feet up and down and that circulation. That plus water.
Keep the person in front of you.
Quit snoring.
There you go. Okay. Well, all right. So, so we're talking, and staying active, staying fit enables us to do all this other stuff, and keeps us mentally alert, so we can participate in great classes, go on trips, and so on. All right, as we talk about this age of fulfillment and what you can do, let's zero in on some more activities, programs available here in the Georgetown area. So we've heard a little bit about Silver Sneakers. Let's learn more. And a lot of you may know a lot about Senior University, but we always have a lot of people who don't. Ron, fill us in about Senior University. Oh, Babs has two mics. Let's do that.
Well, one of them doesn't work.
Oh, really?
This one isn't.
Okay, well, we've got one that works. That's fine. Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
So, one of the really cool things about learning for life or lifelong learning is that you can do it anywhere, in any context, whether you're sitting in a doctor's office waiting for an appointment reading, or you're watching a good show on TV. But one of the things that you get from active participation in a class if you remember back to those days, is that you can be present, you can meet other people who are interested in learning, you can ask questions, questions can be asked of you. And one of the things that impressed me so much when I started attending senior university classes, I became the director in January, just in time for the winter term. So I sat in on as many classes as I could. And I thought to myself, my gosh, there are some real bright spots from the community in these classes, because let's face it, back when we were 20, we thought people our age were old, right? Kind of like lived with the dinosaurs or whatever. And now here I am, I'm one of the dinosaurs. And so you watch people come into the classes, and we may not be impressive to look at while we're managing the stairs. But when you're sitting in the class and it's time for questions, there are people whose minds are just as sharp as can be. And you can tell that they've been taking a variety of classes through the years or even recently. And when they make comments and when they make questions, you think to yourself, these are people whose brains are on fire. They're alive and they're curious and they're interested. And when senior university puts together a course schedule for either the spring or the fall, or the special lecture series in June, the variety of classes is astounding. Babs has been on the curriculum committee for some time and has had a part in creating classes. She's a class coordinator, brings potpourri classes with lectures. But I sat in the winter classes and thought to myself, I am not only traveling the world, I'm traveling 1,000,000 years back in history, I'm traveling into the future, and I'm traveling the universe. Because we're talking about the creation of the world, we're talking about patterns of climate change and interaction over the millennia. We're talking about the Mexican-American War from the perspective of somebody who's an expert on that. We're talking about the first Indochina War with somebody who's an expert on it. The topics are just amazing. And believe it or not, they even recruited me to talk about leafcutter ants. And if you don't think that's interesting, then you don't know anything yet about leafcutter ants. So if you come up to the booth afterwards and talk to me, you can't think of anything else to ask about leafcutter ants.
Okay, there's an interesting challenge. Okay. No, anyway.
Okay, so we have fall classes will be coming up. That starts late September and runs through early November. We have special lectures, including a panel in September 17th by 6 Ukrainians who are going to be talking about Ukraine as they know it and as they fled it and how the war has impacted them. And so throughout the year, we have the 2 semesters, and your flyer in your notebook actually gives the names of the classes and the instructors for the fall, just to give you an idea of the range of classes that we offer. We meet at a variety of venues in the area, from Sun City down to Southwestern University, so people can go different places for these classes. And the level, the quality of the instruction, the people who volunteer to teach these classes is just outstanding. It's compelling. And I would say, my mom is in assisted living in Round Rock at the Enclave, and so that was my first exposure, having lived abroad so much, my first exposure to a senior facility. And I volunteered to lead a storytelling hour once a week there, and therefore got to know a number of people. It was the highlight of my week, listening to people's stories. But it astounded me how alive some people were in that group because of what they continue to learn and how they continue to keep their brains active. So I believe in it, and I believe it for every one of us.
Good. So again, great information. There is a handout in your packet about explaining more about senior university and background, and then on the back side, there are listings of classes on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. Some are for a very short durations. I understand some are longer, but wow. Introduction to genealogical research. This is what I think is neat, growing what you just said about people sharing stories, continuing memoir and biographical writing. You know, as seniors, two of the life stages development that we're involved with, number one is remaining in control, and that's why I'm so committed to people having information, so you're making decisions, and you have the knowledge to make decisions. Control is so important. Leaving a legacy, what is our legacy? And writing our memories can be so affirming to us, as well as leaving those stories for others. So be sure to check out opportunities on at Senior University. Let's skip over now to hear more specifics about travel opportunities and so on. Babs, words of wisdom about traveling. Is it safe to travel?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Can you hear okay?
Yeah.
Oh, does it work? Is
Yeah.
that okay? Oh, okay, I can hear it. So, well, travel is one of those enigmas. We've always done something, whether it was a vacation with our family and going to the lake or going to the beach. Today, more seniors are traveling than anybody else. We have the time and we have money, hopefully, and we can do things. And there's so many different ways to do it. Just because we're older, we just sort of changed our chapter in our speed and our options. And if you're aware of that, but don't let it hold you back, that's the key. Don't think you're 21 and you can take that 10-mile hike or ride the bicycle or go kayaking and fall over. Look at it with what you feel comfortable with. And we all have little different levels. But if you don't do something, you won't do anything. There are, as far as safety, they have put so many protocols in so many ways. Every cruise line, every hotel, every airline, the airports, everybody has really taken it to heart to be safe. So I think that is open now. When you get into COVID, it's a whole nother, the only man I ever believed about COVID was the guy that said, I don't know. So I don't have answers on that. But when you decide on a trip, and I do encourage you to use an advisor for these kinds of reasons. You say, I really would like to do this, and I think I want to do it this way. Well, the advisor can say, well, you know, they have choices of tours on that are different rates of pardon?
Cost?
No, well, that's one of them, cost. But I'm thinking of
Exposure.
exertion, and how hard it is, what's the strain. So you can get advice from that, just from the source. You need to think about who's going with you. If you were possibly somebody that did have mobility problems, they would check and see if a wheelchair or a walker would be okay. Be sure to let everybody know you're traveling that way. The airport, to get a wheelchair in the airport. Also, if you're doing something of that magnitude, you need to have somebody with you. No cruise line or a hotel or anybody will be responsible for helping you with that. So if you know these things going in, what is the protocol of the ship? You'll have to be tested, etc. We took 2 trips this year so far, European. And one of them, on the way, we had to wear a mask. Coming back, we didn't anymore. The second one, we went thinking we were going to have to be tested to come home, and we didn't. So the next, the protocols are falling away. They're finding other ways. And although COVID is still out there and happening, it's not to the extent that we were so worried for 2 years. So safety, I think, is always on our minds, and it should be, but just get good advice. Look at the protocols, look at the rules. Every country has its, it may be even on a trip, but it's one country that said, you can't come in unless. So you need to have that kind of advice to know what works. Is that what you have?
I think this is good, and then we'll ask questions at the end. But just always have our hand sanitizers and something. We do as much of our own precautions, but others are helping us. We did go on a Viking cruise earlier this year, and the saliva test could drive me crazy. I have to be the world's worst at getting some saliva into the little tube. So every morning we would do it, but we didn't hear COVID cases. Now I know another friend where they were on a similar trip, and with COVID, it's not, I don't think it's cruise line's fault. I mean, people get COVID and okay, we had, so the arrangements were made. In fact, my friend ended up with COVID, and so they had to cut it short. But we just have to, if it's something we want to do, we make it work. We get the information, we get resources to support us on that. But we'll open it up for other questions from others in just a minute. Babs has some great handouts in here. She has a sample of her newsletter. And and the other thing is we so often think about international destinations. But I like what you had included here, U.S. destinations. We've got lots of different areas to see here, from the Great Smokies to Pacific Northwest, Boston Freedom Trail, so there are great examples in here that sometimes we overlook. And then you don't have to have the long flight across the ocean if you stay here in the States. And it's just tips for travel. Dress appropriately, stay hydrated, so on. So anyway, great resources for you. And let people ask questions in just a minute. Now, I know some of you will be saying, well, that's great, but traveling today is not for me. I do not want to be in the airport. I do not want to be, or just because, or maybe we do have limited mobility. So never fear, you're not left out. There's a great resource list, and our other things are included. Riel there you are. She did such a wonderful job of pulling together. You've got a lot of living to do virtual opportunities. And so here's a great resource. And this is my personal thing. I am so excited about Beyonder. Is anybody ever aware of the website or whatever it is? BEEYONDER. Oh my gosh, it just sounds so exciting. It can be virtual, but like live tours. You can talk to the guide about going through the streets of Venice or whatever the name of the city that I can't say at the end of South America. Yes, that's the reason I can't say it. So all of those are resources too. But anyway, so that's going to be one of my challenges to check into that and find out what resources are there. Some of those places I haven't been able to go. Doing it virtually is going to be a great opportunity right now. So Babs will be available for more questions about travel, and we've got resources for you about virtual travel. And the other part that is in your handout there, Linda's already given us lots of tips and challenging us to go check out what Silver Sneakers, but also highlight just this. We have in here a handout about at the community center, in the rec center, excuse me. Yes, okay. Explain some of the other offerings there for seniors. Where's the handout?
There we go. Okay, so the Rec Center doesn't just offer Silver Sneakers classes. They have a full senior program. So if you will look at the paper that shows the calendar for August, that calendar is specifically a senior adult activities calendar. So those are all the opportunities that seniors have at the Rec Center. I think it's hilarious that they have a thing called Granny Basketball. It's so cute. Okay, but they're not. Well, anyway, you'll have to go. They're pretty hot. They're hot shots. Pickleball. Oh my gosh, pickleball is huge at the Rec Center. There are pickleball leagues. It's really cool. If you even need to learn how to play pickleball, they have pickleball lessons. Anyway, this is to give you an idea of some. There is also a senior center at the Rec Center. I don't know if you knew that. And it's got its own separate entrance. I don't know much about the senior center, but I do know that it's there. They have a teen center and the senior center, along with all the facilities. Raise your hand if you've been to the Rec Center. I want to just see how many of you are familiar with it. Okay, it's a beautiful, trust me, it's a beautiful Rec Center. Moving here, when I went to that Rec Center for the first time, I was like, wow, this place is beautiful. It has something for everybody. It has a walking track on the second floor, and there's a fast lane and a slow lane, so if you're on a cane or in a walker, you can still use it, and you're not gonna get run over. And it is a walking, I believe, only walking, and there's windows, it's beautiful. There's also an equipment room. Notice they have well, you can't see it on this, this calendar, but I'll explain that in a minute. So on this calendar, before I move on, notice at the bottom, it's donut happy hour every Thursday.
Wait, where's that one?
Yeah,
Oh, this calendar.
donut happy, on the calendar. Donut happy hour from 1 to 3:30 every Thursday. So if you're craving a donut, why buy one when you can just show up and get one? Okay.
You
All right.
never know what our city offers, there you go.
Yeah, it's the city. Those are your taxes at work. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so on the other side of that, it shows the senior adult activities calendar. There's other programs as well. You'll get to see, things like adult day trips, Tai Chi basics, bridge club, ballroom dancing, country dancing, weight room orientation. That's the one I wanted to bring up to the gentlemen, because the gentlemen seem to really prefer, I don't mean to be sexist here because I'm not, I promise you, but women love this too, but by and large the gentlemen really love that weight room. And they give you an orientation, which is cool, specifically for seniors. And look, it's free. That orientation is free. Some things are fee-based and some things are not on this calendar. Now, on the next paper, you'll see the complete fitness schedule, which is the one that has the gray squares and the white squares. I'm not going to go over it, but just so you know, the gray squares are paid classes that even if you're a member of the rec center, you still have to pay a fee to attend those classes. The white squares are all included with your membership to the rec center. Now I'm gonna, and then on the back of that, it's tiny writing. Oh my gosh, it's like, I don't know, it's ridiculously small. So online you can enlarge it, or if you have a magnifying glass at home, you can maybe stick it under the magnifying glass and hopefully be able to make out all those little letters. But it describes every single list, every single class. So my point is though that there's something for everybody at the rec center, and I have something highlighted in blue, or at least Brielle wrote it in blue on the senior adult activities calendar. Why? It's very important. If you haven't looked into it yet, Silver Sneakers is a free program through many insurance programs. If you are not sure, do you know where I'm talking about, the blue writing on in the middle of the sheet that says Senior Adult Activities Calendar? It's titled Senior Adult Activities Calendar. Anyway, I'm going to read that to you. Silver Sneakers classes may cost you $0. Silver Sneakers is free to you through certain through certain medical insurance plans. Check your eligibility, and there's a website. Okay, all you do is super easy. I've done it. You fill in, I think it's your age, and then your insurance, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, your insurance offers Silver Sneakers. That's part of your insurance benefit. It's free. If you are eligible for free Silver Sneakers, you can take any Silver Sneakers class at the rec center for free, as many times as you want. The rec center offers a Silver Sneakers class every single day of the week, sometimes twice a day, every single day of the week. So Silver Sneakers isn't just one format. It's yoga, circuit, weights with bands, stability, which is the class I teach. So they have a lot, and there's other formats too, but I don't think the rec center offers it. All I'm saying is you will get a lot of variety. Oh, Silver Sneakers also has a water aerobics class. It's called Silver Sneakers Splash. If you've not been to the rec center, they have an amazing pool. I believe it's Olympic sized. It's beautiful, and it's well maintained. I tell you, if you live in Georgetown and you haven't been to the rec center, I highly recommend it. Just go visit. They don't turn you away if you just want to look around. It is an amazing facility for a town this size. We are so lucky to have that. I believe the Parks and Recs department in this town, coming from another state and other areas, is pretty impressive. So anyway, I guess I've covered it all, and you can talk to me if you have any specific questions.
And if you have young grandchildren, there's a great playscape there at the rec center, and a really,
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
They have the cutest little splash pad, and
Splash pad.
you know, I mean, yeah, you gotta just go visit. They have pickleball courts. It's got something for everybody. So don't forget that donut happy hour.
So
I
you
popped
have,
in. I gotta go.
you
Can I
love
just give my number one health tip for
Good,
for my
please.
grandkids? I tell my grandkids you should eat a donut first thing in the morning because otherwise you fill up on junk food.
Well, words of wisdom.
I know, your brain's exploding. It's like, this lady's a personal trainer, and she's a fitness instructor. She's telling you to go to donut happy hour? Come on, life is short. We're not in fitness to look a certain way. We're in fitness to improve our lives. Really, that's how I feel, so.
Okay. Well, you should have lots of challenges and things that you want to do to enhance your life. So let's open this up for questions from our attendees today. Yes, a question back here.
Where is this rec center?
Oh, where is the rec center? Austin Avenue, you explain, Linda.
Yeah, it's here.
It's on Austin Avenue, but I haven't memorized the address. Goodness, it's not on here, is it?
It's by St. Gabriel
Oh, it's at McDonald's.
entrance to the park.
Just go Austin Avenue, go north.
Okay, so, has anybody been to the park, like,
St. Gabriel
main-
Park, right
The
there.
main park there? Oh, what's the name of that road?
St.
Chamber, yes. You know where the Chamber of Commerce
Chamber of
is?
Commerce, it's across.
It's called Chamber Road, so you go down Austin, you turn, coming from Austin, you turn right into Chamber Road. The rec center's on your left. It's kind of on the area of Georgetown where Georgetown High School is. Can everybody picture that? Look it up on Google, you'll find the address. Just make sure you write Georgetown Rec Center, Texas. Otherwise, you might get the Georgetown Rec Center of some other state, because there's a lot of other cities that are called Georgetown, including in Washington, D.C. So,
So it's a great thing to check out. I know several of you are from Sun City. There's a great fitness center there. You can also join, you'll be part of the Georgetown.
oh yeah,
So
Sun City has amazing facilities too, if you haven't looked, if you live there and you haven't seen them. I'm not familiar, but I've seen a few, and it's like, wow.
yeah, they're great things. So there, we got one question. Brielle, did you have
I
some?
was gonna say, links for everything will be sent out directly, so when you get your follow-up email, actually, let me make sure everybody can hear. For those of you who have been, you know that we send an email out after each seminar, and so we'll include the links to the rec center, to senior university, to BAMS, but that will have a link to the facility there, the recreation center. And also, it'll have the links to all the different virtual options that are listed on that page, because it is hard. Some of them have extra / this, that, and the other. And so if you have a direct link, it'll make it a lot easier for you. So if you are new today, make sure you fill out that orange sheet so that we have your information so that you can receive that email.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Mary Ann, a question.
For Ron, are your classes going to be either zoomed or recorded to rewatch?
Okay, senior university classes, are they going to be on Zoom and or recorded or live only, or fill us in?
It's a variety, and it depends on the instructor preference. Most of the classes are Zoomed and recorded for on-demand, but not all of them are. Some of our instructors prefer not to be recorded, in which case they're only live. And we do have one class in the fall where the instructor only wants to be Zoom, not in person. So if you go to the site, each class is marked with what the options are for seeing that class.
Good question. Jim?
I've got a question for Babs. Traveling with pets, and I've heard that they're put down with the suitcases, and you don't want your pet down there. Can you keep them with you? Do you buy a seat for them, or how do you handle that?
Okay, traveling with pets.
Of course, it depends on the pet.
There's
You see
little.
a lot of kennel boxes on the plane with
The
the
small
small ones. A
dog.
large dog, I think they do have a place down below, but it's pressured and air conditioned, it's not with just the suitcases. But that's one of those things to check out before you wait too long, before you get into it.
Especially, yeah, don't wait to the last minute. I'm flying today, I'm bringing my Labrador Retriever. Guess what, folks? There's often rules of how early they have to get to the airport and what you have to do. So, Ron.
Let me just say that pet travel has become much more complicated recently. We have pets, when we went to Costa Rica with dogs, they were in cargo, which was fine, it's all, they're cared for in cargo. When we came back, we were not allowed to bring our pets in cargo. We had to go through a pet service on a separate flight. It cost more to get our dogs back to the US than it did us. But they were more important to my wife than me, so she was willing to pay it. But it was very complicated. And service animals, which used to be the escape route for people, are far more restricted now than they used to be. And so you go to your travel advisor and get that information for the airline and where you're going.
I chuckle because there are always two sides to every story. For those of us who have pets and want to travel, that's very important, maybe more important than our spouse. But for those of us who really don't want to have the little kitty or little dog sitting, so there are always two sides to every story. Babs, you were going to add something.
Just to say, rules change daily. So when you first plan and book and all, check that, or be sure somebody's checking for you. Because that's one of the big tricks today, for travel in particular, because it's a constant rotation. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Judy.
Yeah, well, if you have a spouse who's fairly handicapped, can you put together a trip that would include travel to and from the airport for handicapped?
So
and
in your
also, once you get there, would the handicap facilities?
How to plan for handicap, because we know there can be a wide range. I've just learned this year that traveling with a walker for my husband was really kind of advantageous. We had to board early, but yeah, I mean, I know with motorized carts or whatever the extent, but one thing about walkers, if you're taking them on and putting it, I hope I'm saying this right, but from a personal experience, you take it down, leave it just as you board the plane. Wow, when it comes back up, you hope it's in one piece and still workable. We had some not very fortunate experiences that way. But go ahead, Babs.
Well, just to say that be sure everything is planned out that way. Is the hotel going to accept you? So many things are accessible now, but they may have a protocol that would make a difference. If you're traveling with that person, that's huge. And you know the limitations. I have a client that has a motorized wheelchair, and they do amazing things with it, but people ahead of them need to know that's coming. Is there space for it? You can't always put something like that on a cruise line. You need to let them, can't count on using their wheelchairs. They don't have them for that. So I guess I keep saying the same thing over and over. You just need to look at everything ahead, plan ahead, and be sure you've gotten all the information to you and from you, so you don't have those things you don't want to have happen.
But the beauty of this is, some of you want to travel and you're willing to do that. And again, we all have different levels of comfort and what we're willing to take on, but it is more accessible, more planning, but it doesn't just mean you're never traveling again. We just have to plan ahead in a variety of ways, so that's so important. So
I think it's really hard for us to realize what we can do, because 2 years ago I could do this. Somebody said, well, can you walk 2 miles? Well, I don't know, I haven't done it lately. So you really need to look at yourself and your friends and be sure that you're not putting them in jeopardy. There's cobblestone walks and up ramps and things that come up with travel. Try to picture it ahead and not disappoint yourself.
And from experience, I call them the high-rise walkers. That is great. You've got your seat and you stand up straighter. It was great. Worked really well for most travel. So it doesn't work well in cabs, generally. They're too big. And, again, you learn from experience. Okay, other questions? Come on, I'm sure you've got you motivated. You want to be checking out some of these possibilities. Yes.
One of the questions you had mentioned that people might want to know is, how do I'm a solo and I want to travel, and that's a frequent problem. Maybe you want to be solo, that's not always bad. But I found that just saying, I really would like to go to Brazil, I really would like to take that cruise. And if you say it to the church group and the mahjong group and the golf group, I wanted to do that too. And you'll be really surprised how you together, it doesn't take many to make it comfortable and fun. I think a river cruise is one of my favorite things, but it's really more fun with somebody. So many people are already grouped together. But that can be enough. Think about the variety too of travel options you have. Taking your family can be one of the best things you can do. An individual child for that special time, a combination of the family that never gets together, and it can be a simple location. It doesn't have to be too hard, but those things can be very significant later. You have curiosity trips, adventure trips, you have exploration trips, and history, culture. What is your direction? Because there is something dedicated to that interest that you can find that will really make another big part of your memory bank.
In that legacy, and if real travel is not possible, there's endless virtual things through and all the different websites that Beyonder. I really can't wait to try some of that. Ron?
Yeah, I think Babs touched on something that I believe in really strongly, which is I've thought growing up through the years that when you get old, you start looking at people for what they can't do. So that dropped away, and that dropped away, and that dropped away. But as I have entered my senior years, I think it's really, really important to focus on what we still can do, because we surprise ourselves. Seniors taking language classes. So maybe you never get to be fluent, but you can handle basic stuff that helps you out when you travel. Or studying history, which I failed in college and now have become fascinated with. I said many years ago, I love to learn and I love education, but I don't ever want to take a class again where I have to take a test. And in senior university, you don't have to take a test. You don't have to remember things that you don't want to remember. You can just be overwhelmed and impressed by the things that you're interested in and you do want to learn. So what I would say is there's a reality to what Babs and Linda said about don't expect yourself to be able to perform like you were when you were younger. The flip side of that is surprise yourself.
Yeah.
And you may find that you can do something that you would have thought you could. So when I turned 70, I thought I want to learn a new language, and I decided on American Sign Language because it's the third most common language spoken in the United States. And my progress has been slow and ponderous, and I'm not about to demonstrate it for you. The second thing I decided I wanted to learn was a motor skill, and so I decided to learn to juggle. And you will not see me juggling anything in public, but you can surprise yourself if you just say to yourself, I want to take this class, or I want to try this thing, I want to do this thing at the rec center. Every trip is a class. If you don't learn something by traveling, you've wasted the trip. So it's just like taking a class in another area. So don't, my challenge to me, my challenge to my mother, my challenge to you is don't be afraid to try something and surprise yourself with what you can do, and probably surprise your grandkids too.
I agree, and I'm going to add to that real quick, because we are sometimes intimidated to do like, oh, that rec center, I see people in the parking lot, I see people in their workout outfits, and I don't know, it's kind of outside of my comfort zone. Then you go in there and you realize, oh, it's not that bad. And then you start to think about taking maybe a class, right? One of the fitness classes. It's intimidating. It can be intimidating because You're worried that you're going to get judged. You're worried that maybe you're not as good as the people who were there. And there's a bunch of regulars that seem to know their way, around really well, and they know the exercise. I'm going to emphasize, there is no judgment going on. It is not a meat market. It is not, one of those slick gyms. It is a place where people go in the community to move. Literally. And you won't be the first new person in any class. There's always new people in the class, and the instructors are not going to single you out and go, you, get out of my class because you're out of shape. I mean, they're not going to do that. And they're not even going to, they're going to encourage you. What I think the central theme to this, like what we're getting on board with, is get a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Stretch yourself just a little bit. And that's the challenge of the balance, right? In exercise classes, I'm here to challenge people, but if I'm not there to break their bodies, right? I'm there to say, okay, you can do this. Now see if you can do something a little bit more. And it's baby steps. So when you start a fitness class, you may not feel like, especially anything new, any new movement, you're going to feel weird doing it. Trust me. Your muscles are going to go, what the heck are we doing? Okay, but the more often you do that particular thing, the more, just like with learning and traveling, the more comfortable you're going to feel with it. Last thing, movement. What's the benefit other than, you've been told by your doctor and by everybody else in the world, like, wow, I'm so sick of hearing people saying you got to get fit or you got to move. Well, let me just break it down. Even if you go on a mosey walk outside your house or in your house or at the mall, you're moving your body. Your joints are beginning to move. Your blood is pumping. Your circulation is improving. A little bit more strenuous, that circulation is going to get going. And guess what? When your circulation goes, you're feeding blood to not just your muscles, your brain. You feel a little tiny bit more awake. Okay? So it's not instant, but you got to start somewhere, right? And so think about it that way. It's baby steps. What I tell people is just get your body to this class and let me take care of the rest. And I promise you will feel slightly better than you did when you walked in. Now, it doesn't mean it's a miracle. We'll just be skipping out and feeling like, but you do it as part of, it's like brushing your teeth, right? You brush your teeth in the morning and at night. Why? Because you don't want to lose your teeth, right? Okay, exercise is like that, and your brain is like that. It has to happen. It's just, otherwise it goes to pot. Same thing with our bodies. And it doesn't have to be crazy. If you're a kind of person who says, oh my gosh, I hate exercise, I've never liked it, I'm uncoordinated, I can't stand it, I hated PE, it's okay. You don't have to love it. And guess what? There's so much that you can do. You don't have to stick to a particular thing, right? You can go on walks. You can go hiking. You can take Tai Chi. You can take a balance class. Even our balance class, which is we're barely moving, but we're working our muscles. There's just so much variety. So if one class, you're like, oh, that class really kind of wasn't for me, there's plenty of other stuff, plenty of other ways to move. You like being in the water? Try a water aerobic class. You don't like people staring at your body? Water aerobics class is perfect because everybody's up to here. No one sees what you're doing down below. I've taught water aerobics. You can totally slack off in that class and just kind of smile and bob your head and not move at all. Teacher thinks you're moving. Why? Because we can't. Well, I'm up here on the deck teaching, but what I'm saying is it's fun. One last thing, it's social. It gets you out of the house. You get to meet people. And you will be, like, after any fitness class, there is a chemical in your brain that happens. It gets released. It's called endorphins. It's a drug. I wish you could bottle that, the endorphins. But those endorphins, after class, everybody's high, not high, but everybody has endorphins. And guess what? They're all talking to each other. Oh yeah, where are you? Blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, they're like planning lunch together at Monument Cafe after class, things like that. So it's not just exercise and it's not just bodybuilding. It's your entire mind, body, soul. Anyway, it addresses everything.
Okay, then,
I just need a little show of support here. One of the classes I'd like to introduce that ties in with the rec center thing is I'd really, really like to get kayak water polo going. Is there anybody here who would support that? Yeah, I'm just wondering. There have to be people in here who would go to the rec center and say, please talk to Ron about
kayak maybe, but when you added the water polo with it, I don't know.
Kayak water polo is more fun than you could ever imagine.
Oh wait, how many people capsized during those?
All of us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Babs.
How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? I think there's a lot to that line about Satchel Paige. Because if you didn't know, and actually I've got some Afghanistan people who don't know what they were born. If you didn't know, today you might be one age, the next day you might be another. But it's a mindset. It's not just the body, not the loss of, or it's what your behavior is, what your attitude is, what your goals are. And there's a certain amount of gratitude you practice because you go somewhere and you're going to come home and say, I'm glad I'm here. You can be grateful for how we live. So the whole thing is, there's so many pieces to your attitude that makes you able to do things, enjoy things, enjoy people around you, your family. You're not as old as you think you are. That's just a number.
Yay. Wow, what a great lead into your action steps here on your nifty handouts. Okay, next month I promise we're going to ask you how many of these have you done or what. What's number one? But we're not going to make you sit here and do it. I consider that. But I hope that before you put your notebook away, not to be pulled out until September, that you will do some of these, try some of these. Make a list of activities or skills you'd like to learn and or improve. We saw some great examples of that. Okay, maybe I do want to learn a language. Not good at it, but maybe, I don't know how many of us are going to try juggling, but then we may have to have you back for a demonstration of that. Make a list of learning opportunities in and around Georgetown or online that are of particular interest to you. Okay, look through your materials. One of the great resources is, what's the name of the active one? Yeah. Mighty Good Time. Last year we spent some time looking at or had information about a Mighty Good Time. Go to that. I guess it's like a clearinghouse network. You can find classes around the country. Around the world. About all kinds of topics from fitness to history to anything. It may be being taught in South Dakota or Central America, but it's a great resource. So there are lots of opportunities. We certainly have great opportunities here in Georgetown, but also beyond. Sign up for a class, a fitness class, senior university, whatever it might be. Plan a trip, virtual or online. Do it real. Yay. Or look at some of these. I'm so excited about Beyonder. Some of these things online. There's a question back there.
I want to ask John, I've taken Spanish before, but you just learn the words. Is that what this class would be?
It depends on the class. We have a beginning Spanish class being offered in the fall, and it's the first time with this instructor, and I'm not sure what her approach will be. But learning a language is a progression from words to phrases to sentences to conversations, and any word you learn is a word you didn't know before, and so who cares how far you go except for you?
I have a funny story. We're having a home build right now, and the foundation is really high. And I wanted to go into the house to look around, and there was a gentleman there, a Spanish gentleman, help me get up onto the cement so I could go into the house. Which I was really glad I needed help, at least.
So basic vocabulary can be useful, but of course the more we engage in conversations, as simple or, and then we can go travel and try it out, which is always the best way to learn a language. So, and then continuing on here, plan a trip or virtual, sign up for our upcoming seminars. Next month's seminar we'll change the title a little bit. It's about, are you prepared with your health benefits? Wait, let me get the real title so Rio won't be upset with me. What's the real title? Oh, some of us are learning from our own experiences. Before a healthcare crisis occurs, do you have the benefits you really need? We're going to look at some different and encourage you to find out what you really have, sometimes what we think we have, and then we need a care and we find out no. So we're going to have some interesting learnings from that. I think so that will be September, October will be a fun one. That's when we're going to talk about the different kinds of communities for seniors, 55 plus apartments, independent living, assisted living, so on. So we focus on those. Somebody said, I know all there is to know about all that. That's great, but I bet we always learn something and learn what's available in our area. We have Michelle Wilkerson here today as an attendee. She's with Bader House Memory Care out in Williams Drive. Knowing what's available should the need arise is so important. And bring a friend with you. Some of you are really great at bringing your friends. And we've got some really neat people who've introduced others to the seminars. I want to thank our panelists very much for inspiring us. I hope we're all set to learn something new.